The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
First Big Podcast coming to you on December 15th. That was weird. December 15th, 2020. How you guys doing? It's actually kind of a rare, quiet Tuesday night here in the Christian residence because my kids are asleep right now. My wife is working a rare Tuesday night because we both are actually off Tuesdays normally together. And the reason why she's off today, not here today and working tonight, is because of the fact that we are actually embarking in our first weekend getaway as parents, which, if you do the count, we've been parents now for 7.5 years, and we have never done a getaway as a couple without our kids since our son Eli was born in April of 2013. That is crazy, I know. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. We have to get into it here. But it worked out. We need it. And the reason we're doing it because we haven't spent much time together. Now, to be fair, this is not just us going to Orlando. This is what we're doing, going to Orlando for a night. Not a long trip, probably about 36 hours, maybe. Staying overnight, and then we'll be back home next day. But we need time away from our kids. We need time. In addition to all the stresses that we deal with on a daily basis, you add the specter of COVID, the pandemic, dealing with our kids, doing virtual schooling, and just all that. It adds to the stress. Let's just say it. Let's be honest here. The stress. It's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that parenting is easy. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just giving the reality of the situation. It's not easy. So we're going with another couple actually to Orlando. One of my co-hosts of the on my wrestling podcast, Take 3 Wrestling, Mike and his wife. Both of our wives are really close, so Mike and I are tight as well too. We're gonna do a couples getaway. They have 3 kids, so as much as I bitch about the stress in my life and what we go through, they have it probably more. They just had a newborn a couple months ago, and they're going through it as well. So I can't sit here and bitch and moan about the stresses of the world, because the fact of the matter is they probably have even more. They got 2 young kids. In fact, they got a 9-year-old. They have a 3-year-old and now a newborn. So it ain't easy, but these are the things we do. We decided to do this, so we're not going to complain about it. We're just going to go through it. But we do. We've never prioritized. My wife and I, Lauren and I, we've never really actually prioritized, going away together without our kids. Even for I think the only thing we've ever done, and we've done it twice, is that we went to Disney, I think on 2 occasions the last couple of years, but we came back the same day. We went early in the morning, came back the same day. So technically it wasn't a getaway. It was a getaway for the day. It wasn't a getaway for the weekend. This is for 36 hours. So what's going to happen is my oldest son, Eli, I mentioned in the podcast, my sister, my sister Christina, she's coming down for a couple weeks to the holidays here in Florida, and she agreed to take my son Eli, for a day or two, to spend time. As I said, my son Eli's been, going through a lot, dealing with the pandemic and not having to see his friends, hasn't been able to see his cousins in months. So this will be good for him, obviously. My youngest son, Logan, will be staying with my mother-in-law, who will be at the house here. For the allotted time will be gone. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to take my son Eli at about 8, 9 in the morning to my sister's in early morning. Then drop him off. Then go to work. work a couple hours, and then in the afternoon / evening time, we'll go up to Orlando after we're both done with work. My wife and I both be working on Saturday. And the reason why is because we don't want to lose money in the process. So we're trying to do all this while trying to not lose days. So my wife, by working today, she's able to be off Sunday, so we can make this happen and not lose money in the process. You know what I'm saying? So that's the whole thing. So we'll be doing that. We're going to be doing an escape room, I believe, that night, Saturday night. We're going to go to dinner. That's going to be fun. And I'm looking forward to this because at the end of the day, this is something, that we need to do. And we need to invest in our marriage. We need to invest in time with our spouses. Look, our kids are important. The kids will always be important. But I've said for years that, and it's always comes out wrong. So when I say it, people think, oh, you don't care about your kids? No. But your spouse is always more important than your children, because your kids will leave the nest at some point. Your spouse is your spouse. And if your marriage is holding firm and holding steady, everything else will fall in line, including the parenting perspective of it all. So that's why when I say that, I make sure I say that with that disclaimer. Because every time I say that, people will say, oh, you don't care about your kids, but what about your spouse first? And no, that's not how it is. The whole point is to invest in your marriage. It's like building a foundation. You can't build a foundation without the roots being stable and basically being rooted well. And that roots of your family is the couple, the husband and the wife, the spouses, and you make sure the marriage is on a solid foundation. I mean, I don't know why that's not hard, why that's hard to actually, entertain or to, understand. I don't understand that, but I don't know. But I'm looking forward to this trip, though. We need it. I'm not gonna lie. When we initially had this idea about doing this, I initially wanted it to just be me and my wife alone, because we need that. But the idea of doing it with another couple in the same situation, two really good friends, was also enticing as well too. And we have fun in the process. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't need to do anything. Like, we're gonna do the escape room, and that's fine. I'm cool. I'm cool with that. But honestly, if my wife and I went up alone to Orlando and just ate and stayed in the hotel and just hung out with each other, and I can sit there and read articles, when you watch a movie up there with her, this is fun too for me. I'm very simple, like I told you. I don't need all the bells and whistles like everybody else does. I'm good. I'm good with that, man. But we need this, and I'm hoping we can do more of these in the near future, as the kids get older, because we're committed to this. But we need to continue putting in to the marriage, and things like these are gonna help, because you don't want to lose yourself while building a family. There needs to be a healthy balance of both. You know what I'm saying? So, we're looking forward to this trip, this coming weekend, and and plus the holidays coming up too. So it's gonna be a very eventful time these next couple of weeks for me personally. Between this trip, I got my dad's birthday this weekend coming up. I got my nephew's in town, his birthday, my brother's birthday, cousin's birthday. Got a lot of things going on. They got Christmas and all that. So we got a lot going on next couple weeks. So it's not bad. And especially given the way this year has gone, it's not a bad thing to have some events to look forward to. Again, I could be home all the time and not do anything and be just as satisfied. But to see family and to really fellowship with people that you love and care about, it's definitely something I'm looking forward to. So there's that, But in thinking and talking about all that and family and all that, I feel like, I turned 40 this year. I'll be 41 in less than 5 months. May 1st of next year. And I feel like I'm kind of at a crossroads now when it comes to life, and I'm not like, it's not I want to know what to call it a melancholy, because I'm not sad, I'm not down, but it's kind of like a somewhat of a malaise. I guess malaise means melancholy, I guess, some degree, but I don't feel down. I just feel settled, and partially, sometimes I feel settled to the point where I'm bored, but settled to the point where I'm kind of happy. Like, I've spent most of the 40 years building towards something, whether it was finishing school, whether it had been elementary school, middle school, high school. I didn't go to college. I started college and never finished it because it wasn't my thing at the time anyway. Being in the band, we had goals of doing shows and growing that unit, which we did as much as we could. At the time, we didn't. I've always felt for most of the 40 years like I'm pushing towards something, and I going to a goal. And then, of course, my personal goals, wanting to get married at some point. And I wasn't one of those that like wanted to get married, and that was like I had to get married or my life is over. I got to a point when I was in my mid-20s that I was okay being single and living my life. I had enough things to keep me, content. And then I met my wife, and that took off. And then we go from, me and my wife, and then we had the goal of getting married. And then initially we didn't want kids, and then we just changed our mind a year later after our wedding, and we decided to have kids. And so that goal gets accomplished, and now we're raising kids. And I'm at the point now, well, when you grow up, a lot of times you're saying to yourself, okay, your goals. What are your goals for the first 30 to 40 years of your life? So most people, I would say, would want to finish school if they decide to go to college, and finish college, and then get a solid job, a dream job, or at least a solid job that pays the bills and then some, and then they want to get married and have children and build a family. Well, I'm there now. That's the thing. I'm there. I have a solid job. I've been in my job for over 17 years, and I've enjoyed it. I like my job a lot, actually. I love the flexibility it gives me. It pays well. I have my wife who I love very much. We have a very good relationship. Are there challenges? Absolutely. But at the same time, that's part of life. You run through those challenges, and then, we just go through it. We have kids. Is parenting easy? No, it's not. But we go through it. It's part of the process, and I'm there. I'm at that place. So everything I said I wanted to do at age 12 or 15, 20, my goals, I've pretty much met them, I mean, it isn't like the top tier, like, oh, I wanted to have the greatest job in the world. I want to have like $5 million in the bank. Is that the case? No. But in terms of accomplishing a solid American life, I'm there. I'm married, have kids, good job, great support system, the whole nine. I have nothing to complain about, nothing at all. But, at age 40, you're thinking about other things. Okay, so what's next? Because I feel like right now I'm not building towards anything, certainly not personally, on a personal level. I mean, if there's anything I'm building towards is just raising my kids, as they get older. And yeah, certainly that's a goal. Making sure they are raised right. Making sure they go through school, do a good job in school, build their life up towards adulthood. So that's the one thing, I guess, that you have to look forward to. But other than that, is a career change on the horizon? With COVID, anything can happen, of course. I mean, I don't want to, at this point, I don't have any interest in changing jobs because I number one, I enjoy my job. But at the same time, maybe things can happen. Maybe there are outside forces that I can't control that things can happen. And certainly in this era of the pandemic, who knows how the economy will look like in the next year or next 2 years? Who knows? But it feels like a malaise sort of situation now, a crossroads, like where to next? Where to next? What am I doing next? I don't know. It's weird. But, we continue striving and pushing. I mean, am I happy? Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I mean, I'm not like, oh my God, I'm happiest man in the world, but I'm content. And sometimes I think the word content comes out negatively a lot. That, oh, now that you're content, I'm bored. And I don't know if I'm bored. I enjoy my life. I enjoy the simplicity of my life. I don't need the best car in the world to be happy. I think a lot of people put money as a be all end all to be happy. And sure, you all want more money for security and all that, but money is the be all end all. When you die, it ain't going with you. It's not going with you. So I don't know. It's just one of those things where, I've lived 40 years. What's the next 40 going to look like? I'll be 50 and 10. I'll be 60 and 20. By then, my kids will be adults. I'll hopefully be a grandparent at that point. Maybe 10 years after that, I'll be, 20 years after that, I'll be a great-grandparent by 80. I don't know. Hopefully I'm praying to God I'm here to live to tell tale, first off. God willing, knock on wood, There you go. Knock on wood. But, I don't know. Just feeling kind of like I'm in a weird situation, where it's 40 years old. I got what I want. Got a wonderful wife. 2 great kids who, while they're wild and crazy, still love them more than life itself. I don't know. I'm just take every day at a time, I guess, and just enjoy what you have. Because there's a lot of people who want to be where I'm at now in my position. And I'm grateful to be there, even if sometimes you forget that. Again, perspective, gratitude, very important traits, very important things to look at, especially today's world. We forget the positives, the stress on the positives. Yes, there'll be negatives, but lean on the positives, So, but what I do love, I'll tell you, is, and especially I think I've been appreciating it more in the last few weeks. So the one night where I have personal time to myself, and that's shrinking around the edges, because as my kids get older, they're gonna want more things. My wife, obviously, we spend more time together. So, but I do, while I love being around my family, I do still, prioritize personal time, alone time. I have a lot of things that, for myself, whether it be reading articles, reading books, listening to this podcast, watching this documentary, watching this game, or watching, whatever. There's things that I'm into, a lot of media. So this is why when I say I don't need extra bells and whistles, because I'm content with the things I have now. Those things I'm into, most things I'm into, doesn't require me to leave the house. I do a podcast right here in my own office. I'm in a closet, which is a big closet, which I turned into a closet/office. And I can do this show here. And that satisfies me. And the one day, normally every week, where I have that time to myself, really, is Thursday nights. Now, as you guys noticed probably over the course of the last couple of years, most of the podcasts I do multiple a week, but the one thing you'll almost guarantee is that pretty much every Thursday night / Friday morning on this feed, there's always a podcast recorded, whether or not it's me solo or whether or not it's me with a guest. Most times a guest, because that's probably the easiest time to do that, because that's the one night my wife is always working and never home. And once the kids are asleep, I do have a 2 to 3 hour window to do this. But Thursday nights, I don't think I really appreciated it till recently, because last week, 2 weeks ago, I think I had recorded the Thursday podcast during the day because my son, Logan, 3-year-old, decided to nap in the middle of the day. So what I did is he'll nap probably about an hour. Let me go in the office quick, drop 30 minutes of material, get out of the way, and that way Thursday night can turn into either I could do a second podcast with somebody as a guest, or that night opens up for me to do whatever the hell I want. Last week was great. My wife was at work. My kids were asleep by 9 o'clock. I didn't have a podcast planned that night. Actually, I did, but it got canceled, which is fine because I was able to spend time. So I actually end up, I had made burgers myself that afternoon. Got a burger and fries and a drink. Got into my room, stuffed on HBO Max, watched The War Room. The War Room is about it's a real time documentary about Bill Clinton's 1992 campaign from the eyes of the War Room of James Carville and George Stephanopoulos, who's now, of course, on ABC. I believe he's Good Morning America, I believe. And it was a good documentary, obviously. But the point is, Thursday nights has become my new thing now, where I feel like for those 3-4 hours, if the kids are asleep between 9 and 12 and maybe 1 a.m. if I decide to stay up later, the world is mine. It's just me. It's whatever the hell I want to do, whether it's podcast, whether it's watching whatever I want to watch, whether it's anything I want to do, And Thursday nights have become my night, my night to be Earnest Christian, to be EJ, to be the guy, to me, this diving to things I want to do. And that's fine, because the rest of the week, my wife gets me pretty much. The only other night I do a podcast guaranteed is Sunday night, and that's for the wrestling podcast, but that's done late at night. Rest of the week, I give it to her every night. I put the kids to sleep, we go downstairs, we watch movies and binge TV shows, or spend time together and have conversation, drink some wine or maybe, and just have a good time. But Thursday nights is my night. And it's funny now, like, I do get torn at times on Thursdays figuring out what I want to do. Sometimes I want to record a podcast. Sometimes I want to say, you know what, fuck it, no podcast tonight. Let's just watch TV. Let's binge, watch wrestling, watch WWE Network, maybe watch the basketball. And now when the NBA come back, I'm going to have Thursday nights on TNT now. So you have that. So, but Thursday nights is my new love. I love just having, because you don't, like I said earlier, even though you have a family that you love, kids, wife, pets, all that, and everything that surrounds that, you still don't want to lose yourself. So if you have those times where you can invest in just you, whatever it is, whatever hobbies or it may be, you invest in it. You just invest in it. And I feel like a lot of times around rest of the week, it's shrinking. Time have shrunk. Time spent to do things. So Thursday nights has become my primetime night to do the things I want to do. To be me. And I love it. Like I said, I live simply. I don't need a lot. I don't really ask for a lot. I just do what I gotta do. So Thursday nights are my favorites. And to be honest with you, tonight is technically kind of like Thursday because my wife is not here. So either I record this podcast, which I'm doing, or I could go outside and watch a TV show or binge watch a documentary. That means a lot of things I'm behind on content wise. I need to watch, so I can do that. I may do that after this episode's over. Still got a couple hours ahead of me. Speaking of content, some podcast recommendations from this week. Today I actually been binging John Hellman, media political analyst. John Hellman, media guy. He's one of the co-hosts of the Circus on Showtime. He has his own podcast called Hell and High Water. And it's a great show. It's a weekly podcast where he has a guest from the world of politics, pop culture, sports, and maybe talking about the news of the world. And I fell behind a couple episodes last 2 weeks. He had Killer Mike on there from Run Jewels. Killer Mike was one of the guys that endorsed Bernie Sanders. Great guy, great political mind, and really just no bullshit. and it was a 2-part episode. I started that today. I listened to the interview he did with Joe Scarborough last week. That was really good, actually. I'm not a really big Scarborough guy. I don't really watch Morning Joe in the morning, but Scarborough does have a lot of strong opinions. I guess he's now a former Republican now. He was a former congressman. That episode was great. I just saw today he did a show episode with Rich Eisen. Rich Eisen is a former ESPN NFL Network guy now. Has his own show. Rich Eisen was great. I remember watching him back in the late 90s. He was phenomenal. I'll listen to that probably tonight and tomorrow. So there's that one. I actually got back into the Rogan thing, Joe Rogan. I noticed tonight, because I was told about an interview by somebody about an interview he did with Matthew Iglesias, a guy who a political writer who I just recently got into because I subscribed to his podcast, not his podcast, his Substack newsletter about a few weeks ago, and he was actually on Rogan I think last week, and it was supposedly a really good interview. So I wasn't searching for it on the Overcast because I know Rogan's on Spotify now, but he was still on Overcast, still gets the Apple podcast feed feeds, whatever you call it. So he up until like late last month, around Thanksgiving, Rogan's podcast was still available on the Apple feed. And I guess after November 27th, his last episode he did with somebody, I don't know what her name is, Annie, whatever, it stopped hitting the feed. So I haven't gotten any episodes on Rogan in a few weeks. And so I was trying to find the Iglesias podcast, and I said, maybe it's time to go to Spotify and actually subscribe. So I did that, and I found the interview, and I started listening to the interview before I came on here and talking smack here. So far so good. Matthew Iglesias, liberal writer, really good interview though, and the reason it caught my eye too, because something he had wrote about in his newsletter, it was something that him and Rogan spoke about on the podcast that really, really interests me about, and I spoke about this on the podcast in the past about how about liberals not liking other liberals or progressives to go on conservative platforms. And I've been very vocal about that, about how the fact that, to me, we got to share this planet, man. We got to share this world. We all have a lot of ideas, and I don't find it productive to shun people away because they have different ideology than you do, different political persuasion, the political leanings. We're never going to get to the place we need to get to by being divisive. To me, encouraging somebody who's on the side of you to not go on Ben Shapiro's podcast, even though Ben Shapiro is a far right conservative, to me is counterproductive. And I've had a problem with that for years. Like Joe Rogan has said for years that most liberals refuse to come on the show because for a reason, and and I guess because of the fact that he has a lot of conservatives on the show. Even though Joe Rogan's not a conservative, he's a little more in the middle. He's definitely much more progressive. He was quite a lot. He endorsed Bernie Sanders. So come on. But I have an issue with that, with people not, and that's the thing I always respected about conservatives, that they'll go on liberal platforms. Ben Shapiro went on Bill Maher 2 years ago. Steve Bannon, who I can't stand, but Steve Bannon has been on Bill Maher multiple times. We can't. It's not freedom of speech as long as you agree with me. We need to get to a place now where we take the ideas everybody has, because we have to share this world. We got to share this planet. We got to share this country. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to run this country one way and that's it. We have to be about ideas. And Iglesias' newsletter spoke about that, and because it was based off the conversation he had with Rogan last week. And, they killed it. He was correct on that. And look, there's a lot of things that Rogan says I don't agree with, obviously. But I'm a big-time First Amendment absolutist. I'm a big-time free speech guy. As long as you're not throwing hate speech and, and whatnot, and use the N-word or this and maybe, I believe we need to be more open to people speaking. because you're not going to know what to say, and I'm not going to know what perspective until you actually talk to the other side. And this is the problem I have with people today, that everybody is so tribalized on both sides. I would dare say liberals more in a sense in terms of dialogue. Dialogue is good. Dialogue is a great thing. I encourage that on this show. All the guests on this show, I like conservative, liberal, doesn't matter. Let's talk it out, So I enjoyed. I'm halfway through the interview now, but I enjoyed the newsletter. Iglesias, Matthew Iglesias, I didn't really know much about him until recently. Heard about him. I know he wrote for Vox and whatnot, but yeah, it's good stuff there, man. Really good stuff. I don't know. Any other podcast recommendations I have besides that? Those two? I guess those are the two really I'm really fired up about. Okay. Earlier today, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Milwaukee Bucks star, top 3 player in the league, in my opinion, obviously, re-signed Supermax with the Milwaukee Bucks, 5-year Supermax. I have two emotions to this situation. I'm happy for him, obviously. I'm sad as a Heat fan because I really want him to be in Miami, and a lot of rumors about him probably coming to Miami in free agency next year, assuming Milwaukee didn't win the title. A lot of rumors about Miami being in the game to get him in the future. But I do think him staying in Milwaukee, honestly, is great for the league. It really is. I think it's good because I think, we've seen LeBron and Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, some of the biggest stars, the tippy-top stars, icons, what do you call it, in the sport, decide to team up and create super teams. And I'm not against that. I'm not necessarily against that either. But it is nice to see a star actually buck a trend that we thought he was not going to do. We all assumed that, unless the Bucks didn't win a title this year, that Giannis was gone. And now he's not. So, it's good to see Giannis stay there, honestly. I'm really happy for him. It's good to see him be committed to that city, Milwaukee, small market team. And for the record, they're a good team. They're gonna be one of those teams in the East that really, they're one of the favorites. Obviously the East is tougher now because you got Brooklyn, and you see what Kevin Durant and Kyrie does. You got the Heat, Miami Heat, of course. Went to the finals this past year. They're still strong. Boston's solid. You have the Sixers, of course. We'll see how good Toronto is this year. A lot of solid teams in the East that are going to make some noise. So it should be a fun year. But Giannis staying long term, that's good for the league, man. It really is, because I think when you spread your stars out a little bit, it creates more competition. Competition breeds competition. I like that. At the end of the day, I may be a Heat fan, but I am still a NBA fan altogether. This is the NBA basketball is not a regional thing for me. It's not like on the Mets. I only watch the Mets, with New York. In the NBA, I watch the Heat, obviously. I'm a diehard Heat fan, but I'm also watching all 30 teams, all the other 29 teams as well, in addition to Heat, because I love the league itself. So Giannis staying is a good thing for the league, man. It really is. So, all right, last thing before they go, let's touch on a little bit on the NFL. We are down to 3 weeks left in the season. It's been a compelling year despite COVID. Week 15 on the way, and I guess what I'll do, what I've been doing with a few weeks with my buddy Kyle, our man Kyle Nash. We did with him and Big Jim a couple weeks ago, doing our locks, looking at the playoff picture. Since not here, I'll do it my own. Right now, as we speak, going week 15, and of course the this year and beyond, we'll be taking 17s to the playoffs, so there'll be only 1 bye and 3 wild cards. So right now in the AFC, you have 3 division winners, or 4 division winners right now. The Kansas City Chiefs in the West, the Steelers in the North, the Buffalo Bills in the East, and the Tennessee Titans in the AFC South. Wow, this is the second time it's happened to me. Well, I almost said South, almost said Central, but Tennessee Titans. So right now, those are your 4 division winners. Chiefs 12-1, Steelers 11-2, Bills 10-3, Titans 9-4. Right now, your wild cards are the Browns at 9-4, who had a tough loss on Monday Night Football against Baltimore, but a very good performance nonetheless, especially by Baker Mayfield. We got the Colts, also 9-4, surprising. a team that I don't really believe in, but we'll see. The Dolphins at 8-5 with a very tough loss to Chiefs, but really stay competitive most of the game. Right now, this is what I believe is going to happen. I think the 4 division winners are going to hold. What you see, Chiefs, Steelers, Bills, Titans, that's going to hold, that's going to stay. Those will be your division winners at the end of the year so far. I believe it's going to happen. The wild card, however, I'm a little skeptical. I did say a couple weeks ago that the Baltimore Ravens will find a way to get in. They had a big win, like I said, last night against the Browns. I think they'll get in. I'm still bullish on the Colts, so I'm taking the Colts out and the Ravens in. I think Dolphins, Ravens, and Browns will be a wild card to the AFC. As for the NFC, right now, the 4 division winners right now are as follows. The Packers are 10-3 in the NFC North. You have the Saints leading the NFC South at 10-3 as well. You have the LA Rams right now currently leading the NFC West by a tiebreaker at 9-4, and you have the Washington football team now leading the NFC East by a full game in the NFC East. Your wild cards right now are the Seattle Seahawks 9-4, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 8-5, and Arizona Cardinals at 7-6. I really believe all as far as division winners, I still think Seattle win the division. So the only thing I won't hold will be the Rams and the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks find a way to get the division, but Washington wins the East, Saints win the South, the Packers win the North. That's going to hold. As far as the wildcard teams, basically all 7 teams that are in the playoffs right now in the NFC are going to get in. They're all going to get in. But I think the only change here you'll have is the Rams and Seahawks. I think the Seahawks will find a way to win the NFC West, and the Rams will be a wild card. That's the only thing I see changing on this list. So, but we'll do another checkup probably next week or next 2 weeks before the year is over. Like I said, this podcast, which used to be a sports-centric podcast, now is wide open. It's all about everything. It's about whatever hits my brain. So, anyway, that's about 37 minutes of podcast time. I'm going to go now get a drink, maybe watch a documentary or 2, and then hit the hay. So, again, on Twitter, EJChristian7. Also, real quick as well, next podcast, probably on Thursday. We'll be dropping Thursday night, Friday morning. We'll be doing the official NBA 2020-2021 over-unders win total podcast with myself, our own Zach Degenerate, and Chris Chrismanic will be on the show. Scheduled for this Thursday night. So look out for that. That'll be, of course, a long one. Probably like last year, 2.5 hours. I'm going to try to cut it shorter this year. I'm trying to get this under 2 hours. We'll see what we can do. But a lot of storylines to talk about, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, anyway, till then, I guess that's it. Stay up, stay safe, wear your mask. Love you guys, and until next one, later.